Welcome to the deep dive. We've gone through the source material you sent over, done the digging, and now we're ready to pull out the key stuff for you. This time, we're getting into the end of the Premier League season. Specifically, which clubs have actually qualified for Europe next season. Champions League, Europa League, and the Conference League.
That's right. And the main source we're leading on here is, well, it's a breakdown from the Premier League itself. It sets out the final positions, and crucially, how teams got those European spots, league finish, cup wins, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and our job today is pretty straightforward.
Huh?
Cut through all the chaos and excitement of that final day and give you the absolute clarity on which teams are going where in Europe and, really importantly, how they managed it, what results got them there.
Absolutely, because while Liverpool had the title wrapped up, the race for those European places, well, it went right down to the last minute, didn't it? Made for a really gripping final day. The source mentions Liverpool as champs and Arsenal were already locked in for the top 5 before kickoff. But for the other spots decided by the league table, there were still, I think, 5 teams scrapping for the remaining 3 places. Proper drama.
Okay, let's unpack that then, starting right at the top, the Champions League. The source confirms a big Premier League contingent, 6 clubs in total. That's Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Spurs.
Correct. Liverpool, obviously, as champions. They were in. Arsenal, too, their strong season meant they were confirmed in that top 5 group early on. No final day nerves for them regarding CL qualification.
Okay, so 2 sorted early, then the final day decided the rest of the league qualifiers.
Exactly. Manchester City, they did what they needed to do. A solid 2-0 win away at Fulham. That cemented 3rd place for them. The source puts them on 71 points, goal difference plus 28, job done.
And then it gets really interesting, right? Chelsea.
Yeah, this is where the final day really shuffled the pack. Chelsea won 1-0 away at Nottingham Forest. A huge result for them. That win actually lifted them into 4th place right at the end.
Wow, jumping into 4th on the last day. That's massive for them.
It really is. Gets them back into the Champions League after being out for, 2 seasons? They finished on 69 points, that crucial 2-point gap, and a goal difference of plus 21.
So that Forest game was absolutely pivotal. Okay, and Newcastle United, they also got back in after a season away, finished 5th. But their story sounds even more nail-biting.
Oh, absolutely. Proper roller coaster for them, according to the results. They actually lost their final game, 1-0 at home to Everton.
They lost, but still qualified. How did that work?
Well, it came down to what happened elsewhere. Aston Villa were the only team who could have caught them for 5th. But Villa lost 2-0 away at Manchester United. So because Villa dropped points, they couldn't overtake Newcastle.
Ah, I see. So even with the loss, Newcastle stayed ahead.
Exactly. Both Newcastle and Villa ended on 66 points. But looking at the source data, Newcastle's goal difference was much better, plus 21 compared to Villa's plus 7. So in the end, that 5th Champions League spot was decided purely on goal difference.
Goal difference separating Champions League from Europa League. Incredible margins. Okay, so that's Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Newcastle.
Yeah.
5 teams through league position. Who's the 6th?
Right. The 6th Premier League team in the Champions League next season, confirmed by the source, is Tottenham Hotspur.
But how? They didn't finish in the top 5, did they?
No, their route was different. They qualified by winning the UEFA Europa League. That final victory against Manchester United gives them an automatic spot in the Champions League, regardless of where they finished in the league.
Okay, got it. So 5 via the league, 1 via winning the Europa League. Makes sense. Now, the source also mentioned something about Chelsea playing in another final, the Conference League final. Does that affect anything?
Yeah, that's a good point. And it highlights one of the, let's say, quirks of the qualification rules. The source clarifies this. Basically, Chelsea's result in the Conference League final against Real Betis, win or lose, doesn't change the Premier League's European places at all.
Right. And why is that?
Because they've already qualified for the Champions League through finishing 4th. That takes precedence, even if they won the Conference League. The Europa League spot that normally comes with that trophy wouldn't get passed down to the next team in the Premier League table.
So no extra spot for England if Chelsea win it?
Nope. Apparently, according to ESPN's Dale Johnson, who the source references, Chelsea would technically get a choice between CL and Europa if they won the Conference League.
But obviously they'd choose the Champions League.
Exactly. It's a bit of a technicality, but the outcome is clear. Their Conference League final doesn't impact the other Premier League teams' European fates. League position and winning the higher-tier Europa League were the key factors here.
Okay, that clears up the Champions League picture. 6 teams in. Let's move down a tier. Who's qualified for the UEFA Europa League?
The source confirms 2 spots for the Europa League, going to Aston Villa and Crystal Palace.
Right, so Aston Villa, they just missed out in the Champions League on goal difference, finishing 6th. That gets them the Europa League spot.
Precisely. That 6th place finish on 66 points, but with that lower goal difference of +7, is their consolation prize, if you like. It lands them directly into the Europa League group stage.
And there's something interesting about Villa in this competition, isn't there, with their manager?
Well, absolutely. This is where the analysis comes in. Their manager, Unai Emery, his record in the Europa League is, well, frankly, ridiculous. He's won it 4 times. 4. 3 times with Sevilla, once with Villarreal.
4 times. That's incredible.
It really is. So Villa going into that competition with a manager who just seems to know how to win it. Well, that makes their campaign next season particularly interesting to watch, doesn't it? It's a huge factor.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay, so Villa are in. Who gets the 2nd Europa League spot?
That one goes to Crystal Palace. They didn't qualify through the league, but through winning the FA Cup. That victory against Man City back on May 17th, that's their ticket. The traditional FA Cup winners' route.
Right, the FA Cup winners. So Villa and Palace in the Europa League. That just leaves the 3rd competition, the UEFA Conference League. Who gets that?
Just the one spot there, and the source confirms it goes to Nottingham Forest.
How did they manage that?
By finishing 7th in the league, they ended the season on 65 points with a goal difference of +12. That 7th place was enough to secure European football.
7th place for the Conference League. And for Forest, that feels like, well, a really big deal.
Oh, massively significant. The source highlights this. It's their first time back in European competition for 21 years.
21 years, wow.
Yeah. For a club with their history, 2 European Cups back in the day, getting back onto the European stage, even the Conference League, is huge. It really shows how well they performed over the season to grab that spot.
Okay, great. So just to quickly recap those final standings from the sources table for the teams we've mainly talked about. Man City, 3rd, 71 points, CL. Chelsea, 4th, 69 points, CL. Newcastle, 5th, 66 points. Better goal difference, also CL. Then Aston Villa, 6th, also 66 points, but lower GD, so they get Europa League. And Nottingham Forest, 7th, 65 points, securing that Conference League spot.
That nails it. That's how the final table, those points and goal differences, directly translated into those European places, according to the source data.
So there you have it. 6 Premier League clubs heading to the Champions League, 2 into the Europa League, and 1 into the Conference League. Hopefully, by joining us for this deep dive, you've kind of cut through all that final day madness and got a really clear picture of who's playing where in Europe next season, and crucially, how they got there based on the Premier League's own info.
Yep. Hopefully that sorts it all out for you, bypasses the confusion, just gives you the bottom line.
Right. Now, just before we finish, here's maybe something to think about for next season. You look at these teams, Chelsea and Newcastle back in the Champions League after time away, Nottingham Forest back in Europe after, like you said, 21 years. And then there's Villa heading into the Europa League with Emery, the Europa League specialist. What sort of challenges, but maybe also what opportunities do these European runs present for these specific clubs? You know, beyond just the extra fixtures, how might playing in Europe affect their league form, maybe their transfer plans, how they approach games? Does playing in the Conference League demand something different from the Champions League grind, for instance? Definitely something interesting to consider as we look ahead.